This is a 3-second close-up of a picture frame. The picture shows a mother and child and part of the photo is ripped out. This leaves the audience asking questions at why the photo is ripped and establishes the relationship between the son and his mother. This time we hear a voiceover of one of the main protagonists in our piece. We then pan to a medium close-up of other family photos, only including an elderly woman, the mother, and a son. We then go to a long shot of the back of the head of a boy, showing the field that he's in. This creates intrigue and mystery for the audience, as they can't see his face and all they can hear is the voiceover carrying on. We then have a long shot of an elderly man walking the dog. This is our other main protagonist, the father. We then see a long shot of the boy in the field kicking a pebble. We then have a long shot of the father taking the dog off a lead. We then pan to the dog running. However, as the audience, we cannot see where he's running to. We have a 3-second point of view running of the dog. We will achieve this by attaching the camera on a stick and running with it, hoping to achieve the wobbliness of the dog's head. We then have a 2-second long shot of the boy saying hello to the dog. We have a 2-second point of view of the boy looking at the dog. We have a sound bridge through this shot and the next shot of the father calling the dog's name. It will turn its head and run away with another shot in the opposite direction for 3 seconds. During this sequence of shots, we hope to allow the audience to realise that the father and son are actually in the same field, however they don't know each other. The shot stays still and the dog runs out of the shot. 2 seconds passes of just a clear shot, and then a transition happens where a football is kicked into the shot for 2 seconds, and we then get the diegetic sound of football players playing football. The next shot is 4 seconds long, and it's an extremely long shot of people playing football. The next shot is 3 seconds of a big close-up of the sun. We will achieve this shot by attaching the camera to his chest. The next shot is a 2-second shot of the father sitting on the couch. Then cut to a 2-second shot of a long shot of the back of the father's head and a TV in front of him. The next shot is a 2-second long shot of the father watching football on the TV. We see the back of his head and the full screen of the TV. The next 2 seconds, we zoom in towards the TV so that the whole screen is filled up with football. For 2 seconds on the TV, we see a player about to shoot. We then have a match on action for 2 seconds of the son scoring in real life. We then have a sound bridge cutting back to the father scene of the father cheering for 2 seconds. We then cut back to the real life scene and it's 2 seconds long shot of all the players celebrating. We then cut for 2 seconds and see the son pick up a coat hanger. This is a medium close-up. We then cut to the son walking towards the changing rooms. We pan this one so the audience can see him walking towards it. We then have a long shot of the son closing the curtains in a changing room. The shot is the bottom of the curtain of the changing room and we see the son picking up clothes from the floor. We then cut to a 3-second long shot of the father opening changing room curtain. We then have 4 seconds of a split screen. On the left hand side we have the father waiting to cue, and on the right hand side we have the son waiting to cue. The juxtaposition between these 2 stills will allow the audience to see the differences and similarities between the father and son. The next shot is a 3-second shot of the son going to the counter and handing over his share. The audience will expect for him to receive a bag full of clothes from the cashier. However, we cut to him receiving McDonald's from a worker. We then have 3 seconds of match on action panning towards the counter. We then have a 2-second shot close-up of the ketchup being poured into a pot. We then have 3 seconds of a car driving up to a booth. Then cross to 2 seconds of a son eating in a booth. We then have a close-up of a screen with a McDonald's order on it. The audience can assume that this is the father ordering from the same place. The son then crosses to the bin for 2 seconds and puts his rubbish in. This is a long shot. Then cut to 2 seconds of the father driving up towards the window. Then 2 seconds of a close-up of money exchanging hands. We then have 4 seconds of a close-up of a spinning charity pot. We see the son drop money into it, and as the money rolls in, the camera zooms in towards the centre. We then zoom out from black for 4 seconds and see a dartboard, and on the last second, a dart is thrown towards it. We then have a close-up, 2 seconds, of a beer, and a match-on action of 3 seconds of the father sitting at the bar drinking. This is a long shot. We also then have another match-on action of the father drinking for 2 seconds. This is a close-up. We then have the same close-up for the son of him putting the drink down, another match-on action. We then have a long shot of the son sitting at the bench for 3 seconds. We have a close-up of the son's phone for 2 seconds, and he's playing a pop culture game. We then cut to the 2 seconds of the father, and we see him on his emails. We then cut to 3 seconds of the father drinking. However, it's the perspective of the barman. We then cut to 2 seconds of a CD that musically relates to the father, and we cut for 2 seconds to another close-up of the CD that musically relates to the son. We then have the son for 3 seconds panning along on a long shot down the music aisle. We then have 2 seconds of the dad browsing at DVDs. We then have a 3-second shot of a poster, and we pan up to reveal the son. We then have 3 seconds at the end of an aisle. Through this camera lens, the focus is on the right towards the son, and the father in the back on the left is blurred out. The focus then switches for another 3 seconds in the same shot, but the focus is switched to the father. We then have 2 seconds of a book. Then we have 2 seconds of a long shot of the dad reading the same book. We then have 2 seconds of headphones on a stand. Then we cut to the son wearing these headphones for 2 seconds. We then fade into a big close-up of 2 seconds of the son's face wearing headphones. We then have 3 seconds of a medium shot of the son sitting at a computer. We then have a close-up of 3 seconds of birth certificates and birth records. Then cut to 2 seconds at a low angle, looking up at the father, looking through this box. We then have a long shot of 2 seconds of the son sitting at a computer typing. We then cut to 3 seconds of a birth record website. We then have 2 seconds of a long shot of a printer. We then cut to 2 seconds of an extreme long shot of the father flicking through the pile of certificates. We then cut to a 2-second long shot of the father picking up the birth certificate. Then cut to a 4 seconds shot. It starts at black and zooms out from small, revealing the sign of Costa. We then have a close-up of a coffee machine. We then have an extreme close-up of 2 seconds of the steam being poured into the coffee cup. We have 3 seconds of the coffee cup exchanging hands at the till. We then have 4 seconds panning along with the boy until he sits down on the left-hand side of the screen at a table. We have a big close-up of him drinking for 2 seconds, then cut to an extreme close-up of him drinking. We then cut to a 2-second shot of him sitting at the table. We then have a close-up of the table and part of the son's body as he knocks the pen off the table. We have a 1-second short clip of the son bending down to get the pen. We then cut to a piece of paper that the son was writing on for 2 seconds, a close-up, and we see an address. This is a long shot of a house for 2 seconds. Then cut to 2 seconds of a medium shot of a front door, allowing us clearly to see the door number. Then cut to 2 seconds of a focus on the door number on the piece of paper, and they match. Then cross-cut back to a street sign for 2 seconds. We then cut to 2 seconds of a close-up focused on the street name on the piece of paper. Then cross back to 2 seconds of the father opening the door of the house and walking out. Then go back to the piece of paper and we see the name on the piece of paper in focus. Then hear a sound bridge between this shot and the next shot of trains and train announcements. We then cut to a train time signboard with voiceover announcements in the background. We then cut to 2 seconds of the father standing on the platform. We have an extreme long shot for 1 second of the son walking to the railway crossing. We then have a sound bridge from here to the next shot of the railway crossing gates coming down. Then cut for 3 seconds of a long shot of the father walking onto the train, and a 2-second medium shot of him sitting on the train. We then have 3 seconds, a big close-up of the son looking either side of his head to see whether the train is coming. We then have 2 seconds of an extreme long shot of the dad sitting on the train reading. Then have 2 seconds of a close-up of the son's hand on the railway line. And we cut to 2 seconds of the son jumping, and then the screen cuts to black. However, The screen remains black for 3 seconds, and we hear the sound of the train going past and a smash. The screen will then fade up bright, and we see the father and son crossing paths in the field. This is an extreme long shot for 3 seconds. Then cut to a medium long shot of the father sitting on a couch for 1 second. Then have a medium shot of the window in the house, and we see the son walking past with a football. We then cut to 4 seconds of the father and son both walking out of the shop and walking in opposite directions past each other. We then have 2 seconds of an extreme long shot of McDonald's. We then have 2 seconds of the son walking past a parked car, and in the distance you can see the father sitting in the car. We cut to 3 seconds of an extreme long shot of the whole barn from the barman's perspective. We see the dad engrossed in his beer and on his emails, and the son puts his beer down and walks past the father. We then cut for 3 seconds at the end of an aisle at a music store. The father walks down towards the camera and the son walks up away. We then have 3 seconds of an extreme long shot of the son at the printer and the father sitting at the desk. We then cut to 3 seconds of a medium long shot of the son and the father sitting back to back in the coffee shop. We then cut to 4 seconds of a train coming towards the camera, with sound and bright lights white. Then have the title for 2 seconds. Then cut to a picture of a mother and her son with a photo ripped out. This is the same photo as the opening shot. We then pan past all the other photos and we reach Finn, where we zoom in towards and we see the ripped out part of the photo, and it turns out it was the father in the story. Yes, after the title we also have a non-diegetic voiceover of the son explaining.